Hi, this is Melissa from Loops of Gray, and welcome to my studio. In this video, we're going to be talking about my initial impressions of the Woobles crochet kits. I've been putting this off for a long time, and I finally decided to pick one up to see what it was all about. I'm going to go into some more details about my initial thoughts about getting the starting piece out, talk about the Woobles yarn itself, which is really interesting. We'll also go over some different grips, and then a little bit of the nuances about the single crochet stitch itself. Then we'll also talk about ripping your work back and how Woobles has accommodated for that. Then lastly, we'll talk a little bit about how they've made their left-handed videos, which I think is really interesting. But first, I wanted to start with the card that comes with the kit that has the URL for the instructions. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. All right, so on the card that comes with the kit, it tells you to go to thewoobles.com/start. And the first thing that I notice is that it redirects us to a different URL, learn.thewoobles.com, which is fine. I just think it's kind of interesting that the URL doesn't match what's on the website. So, I know it's hard to keep their stuff updated with, print versus the web, but, that's just something that I noticed. And then it says to type in the password gnarly, except gnarly doesn't actually pull anything up. So it turns out that you need to just search for, you can either just search for narwhal, or in this case, my guy's name is Bjorn. Oh, Bjorn doesn't even pull anything up either. That's annoying. But anyway, you just have to scroll down to find your narwhal, and then this is where it is that you need to enter the password gnarly, and that's what gets you into the videos. And it's got you can switch between right-handed and left-handed, and I haven't downloaded the pattern yet, but I just wanted to just go ahead, big button, click get started. All right, so I will say the videos overall are actually pretty good. I had my husband go through a bunch of them, and he was able to make a few stitches, right away. But one thing that I think is really interesting is that so the videos, they come in these really short, maybe this one's 36 seconds long, but they could even be as short as like 10 seconds long. But let's say you're holding your piece, you've got your your crochet position all set up, and the video, it gets near to the end.
In the hole that is marked by this orange stitch marker.
All right, great. Now what? There's no way that I can tell that you can easily forward to the next video. So you have to figure out how to hold your hook or take it out or put it down, and then use your mouse to click on the next button. And so that can be kind of intimidating for people, especially if they don't really tell you how to navigate the videos by saying, all right, here's my work. Now, hold this with your left hand and take your right hand off and use your mouse. I find that kind of weird and like a really strange oversight for a company that is touting, easily digestible videos while doing something with your hands. I want to talk about an issue that I've already had with step 0, and that is getting the starting bit of the project out of the ball of the yarn. So they've already pre-started a bit of the project and included some stitch markers in it, and it's tucked inside the ball of yarn. And in the video, they tell you to reach inside the ball of yarn, grab the plastic bits, and pull it out. And in the video, this yarn here comes out of this hole here, from the middle of the ball. However, you can see in this ball of yarn, it's come out of the outside of the yarn and or of the skein. And so what am I supposed to do? This doesn't match the video, and I've never crocheted before. I mean, I have, obviously, but as a beginner, I've never crocheted before. I've never touched a ball of yarn before. What am I supposed to do? So already, we haven't even gotten we haven't even touched a crochet hook yet. We haven't even looked at instructions, and already this is confusing. So, I know what to do, and the thing is to get this working yarn, I don't know, free. And already you can see it's like twisted underneath here. So we're going to pull that through over here. But then you can see, okay, now it's like coming out from underneath this label. So what am I supposed to do? So what I would do personally, unfortunately, is take this label off. And then now we're working from the outside of the skein, which is very strange, and no one ever does that. And unfortunately, because of the way that this starting bit is made, there's no way to switch it so that it comes out from the middle. So you're just kind of stuck with how it is, which doesn't match the video. So not off to a great start, Woobles. The thing I want to talk about in this little video is about the yarn, or rather, I don't even know what to call this. It's not really yarn. So if you can see really up close, it's actually like a tube that's made up of knit stitches all the way around. So it's this sort of like, it can like compress and contract, and it takes up dimension like a bit of yarn, but it's not really made like typical yarn is. So here's an example yarn that I used in class. This is a class yarn, and you can see how it's got this twist to it. And this, they call these twists, these little like sub components are called plies, and you can see how they're like twisted among itself to form this yarn. And of course, a problem that you can run across with this yarn is that you can pretty easily put your crochet hook sort of in between the yarn and really like break the ply. Like this is, super easy to do, or it's easy to untwist. You can see it's really separating out, and this hook isn't particularly sharp, but other like sharper hooks can like really, I'm not even trying, and you can really get in there. Similarly with this cotton yarn, you can see the twists here. Same kind of deal where you can easily untwist it, and then you're just working along, and it's really easy to accidentally grab the wrong loop or grab even just one strand, and you can already see this is going to be a problem. Last example yarn here, another twist in this yarn, and you can pretty easily get your hook all caught up in there. But this Woobles yarn, which is hardly a yarn, there's nothing to twist. There's nothing to accidentally anything with this yarn. This is like truly a feat of engineering here of how they've made this sort of tube of yarn here, because this is going to eliminate one of the factors that people can struggle with of, all right, well, I've yarned over, now I'm going to insert and I'm catching, extra bits of yarns. Well, there's no catching of anything. It's not going to go in there. It's a solid tube of yarn, as it were. So, very interesting. I wanted to bring up something that my husband brought up as he was trying it out. So in the videos, everyone is using what I would call the knife grip. And this is holding the hook across your four fingers with your with the main part of the hook in your hand. What I like to think of it is if you were to lay the hook on the table and then just reach down and pick it up, now you're holding it like you would stab somebody, which is, I think, why they call it the knife grip. In any case, this isn't always the grip that's most comfortable for people. A grip that is also commonly used is called the pencil grip. And as described, you hold it basically like a pencil with your thumb and forefinger, thumb and first or second finger holding the grip like this. And the main part of the hook is actually extending out between your thumb and the rest of your hand. And for some people, this is a lot more intuitive and comfortable to hold. But it does make for a little bit different movements when you're entering the hook or entering the stitch and whatnot. But it's not like a ton different. But I'm kind of surprised that they didn't mention that there's a few different ways of holding it, because like this movement right here is a little different. Pulling it this way with the pencil grip, versus pulling it this way with the knife grip. Again, it's kind of subtle, but would like to see, a little bit of, demonstrating a few of the different options of if this feels weird to you, here's an alternative that you can use. One thing I think is interesting in the instructions that differs from how I teach single crochet and crochet in general is that when I am finishing a single crochet, the loop is pretty tight here on the shaft of the hook. And so I instruct my students to use their pointer finger to hold that loop so that it stays out of the way and secure over here while before inserting their hook into the next stitch, or in this case the same stitch. And this is something that people might get confused about or struggle with, but what I thought was interesting is that Woobles instructs you to make your loop just a little bit bigger by pulling up on your hook like this. And what this accomplishes is that when you move your hook into the next stitch, the loop just sort of like folds over and doesn't get in the way. And, I think this is going to make the person successful in being able to make their next stitch. But I'm curious if this is going to cause problems later down the line of wondering why their stitches are so loose. Like you can already see on this first one, like there's a lot of like open space here, and this stitch is kind of big, you know, and I just worry like that the stuffing is going to show through or something like that when the stitch is being made so big as opposed to being pulled tighter and then, you know, being a lot more, I don't know, just tight and dense. So that's just something kind of interesting that I have found. Something that they mention is that if you think you didn't do your stitches right, you can just take your hook out and pull on the yarn attached to your yarn ball until you get back to your pre-started piece. So let's see how that works. You just pull your stitches out and it just stops. Like they've added a knot in here. So basically, what they've pre-started for you is the magic ring with 6 stitches in it. And this is the hardest part of any plushie or amigurumi or anything that starts in the round. And what I think is interesting then about this kit is that it's not going to teach you how to start your own plushie from scratch. It still is going to rely on having this pre-started piece with this knot in it, you know, and these stitch markers so that, you know, you're not really able to make your own piece from it. You're really stuck with these kits. But I do like however it's made. Like I said, it's got, you know, some sort of knot in it so that, you know, people can rip it out and, you know, it's not coming in, you know, not going anywhere. So here we are, ready to start over. I was really curious for their instructions for how to work left-handed, which is really difficult in crochet because most patterns are written for right-handed crocheters, and it's it can be a little confusing, especially when we're working in a spiral to work things left-handed. So I went ahead and watched their left-hand videos, and it's really interesting in that they talk about your piece having sort of a front and a back, or really a heads and a tails of our little coin. So in this example, our starting piece, this is the heads version of it. And if you were working it right-handed, we're starting with our hook over here, and then the orange stitch marker is to the left. And we're going to be working on the piece counterclockwise, starting over here, working our way around. And the idea that they've given for working left-handed is that we're going to be starting with the loop over here on the left, and that our orange stitch marker is now on the right, which is all well and good, except we're now looking at the tails side of the coin, as it were, or of the starting piece. And in the video instructions, they've actually made the starting piece differently so that it's set up for left-handers, whereas this is the wrong side, or the, you know, the back side of your work. It won't really matter too much in the big picture. Like once you get started working, all of your stitches are going to be facing the same direction, but it can be confusing in the video because they talk about the head, you know, of the coin looking like this, where your stitches, you know, they kind of look like this with these little lines here, and then you can see your V's up here. And then if you turn the piece over, it's got like the same kind of lines, but then there's this like horizontal bar here, and then it's really hard to see the V's. They're still there on the rim if you turn it over, you know, kind of flip it to the side, but they're really hard to see from this direction, you know. So if you were actually trying to work this piece, you know, left-handed, I mean, like, I guess, like, the first stitch is kind of easy to see because it's got the whole stitch marker in it, but you're gonna, you know, same with the next pieces, but then you're gonna run into trouble when you get further down into the piece, and it's, like, really hard to see the V or where it is. I mean, maybe this isn't as big of a deal as I think it's going to be, but at the very least, I find it confusing that in the video, they show a left-handed coin or left-handed starting piece, which is not actually what you get in the kit. You'll instead just be working on the wrong side or the back side or the tail side of your starting piece.